Thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much. And thank all of you for having me here tonight. It's an honor. As editor-in-chief of Pause magazine, which, as Deborah just said, is for people living with and affected by HIV/AIDS, I get to know a lot of the people that we write about. And I think they confide in me in part because I'm also living with HIV. I've been living with the disease since 1996. Pause tells stories of people from all over the country and all over the world. And I've traveled around the world and I've met a lot of people living with the disease. And what surprises me most is the commonality of all of the people living with HIV/AIDS, irrespective of their circumstances, their resources. We all fear rejection. We fear being dumped by our family, our friends, our lovers, our bosses. We worry about discrimination, about losing our homes, about losing our jobs. We worry about affording our health care and our prescription drugs that save our lives. We hope desperately that our bodies don't give in while we wait for the cure. And the hardest part, I think, is stigma. And we do the best we can to keep our spirits and our self-esteem high while we live with this disease that still too many people don't understand and too many people still fear. Something I've learned from watching people fight HIV, from San Francisco to Minneapolis, Appalachia to Kenya, Taipei to Hong Kong, is that it's the basic things in life that determine whether or not you survive. Medicine is key, but it's irrelevant unless you also have clean water, shelter, comfort, and food. People say HIV is a manageable disease, and it can be a manageable disease, and it can be a chronic disease. But for that to be true, you have to have all of those things, including that emotional support, the safe shelter, and the sustenance. Early last spring, I got a call from a woman we'd featured in Pause. We'd followed her from pregnancy through motherhood, telling how HIV-positive women can have a baby and not pass the virus on to their child if they follow certain medical protocol. She called me late one night from the Bronx and was very apologetic about the hour. She asked if she could come and stay with me at my house. Her electricity had been turned off because she couldn't afford to pay the bill, and she was freezing. But she said, "Don't worry, we still have gas, and the baby's in the oven." And I said, "What do you mean the baby's in the oven?" And she said, "We're keeping her warm in the oven." I asked her when she'd last eaten, and she said she couldn't remember. I wasn't on the East Coast that night, so I couldn't go pick her up, which I would have done. But thank God I was able to call God's love so she could eat and the baby could eat. One of the most amazing things to me is the way that a person can call up God's love, and the food just shows up, and the people just show up, and the registration happens later. Because by the time someone's in a position to ask for help, it's often a really dire situation. I mean, no one plans to find themselves sitting alone in the dark, freezing and hungry with their child in the oven. I'm here tonight to thank you on behalf of the many people who would otherwise suffer if it were not for your generosity and your dedication and your compassion. Years of being a journalist have taught me that if I'm hearing about one baby in the oven, there are probably more. So thank all of you so very, very much for what you do to ensure that people with HIV and other life-threatening conditions have dignity, have food, and have the love